Abraham, Moses, Joseph, Daniel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Samson are some of the prophets and judges from the Old Testament era who led the people through times of turmoil, each of them exhibiting a special character trait which we aspire to as ideal. We can see that each of these leaders were carefully molded by God to equip them accomplish their tasks. Jacob, in the Old Testament of the Bible, is portrayed as a resourceful and manipulative character who uses deceit to secure the birthright and blessing that were meant for Esau, his elder brother. Later on, he tricks his father-in-law, Laban. We read about this in Genesis 30. In fact, the name Jacob in Hebrew means supplanter, usurper, or deceiver. He is not upright when dealing with his brother, his father, and his father-in-law. When we come to Genesis chapter 32, we see that Jacob is at his wit's end. All his cunning and manipulation and deceit doesn't seem to be working. We read that he leaves his family and possessions and crosses a river to the other side. The river is called Jaboc. The word Jaboc means emptying out or pouring out. We notice that the words Jacob and Jaboc are essentially the same, with some phonetic sounds interchanged. On the other side of the river, Jacob is all alone. And then the Bible records that he wrestles with an angel the whole night. The struggle ends when the angel knocks Jacob's hip bone out of joint. The angel then proceeds to change Jacob's name to Israel. The word Israel means one who struggles with God and prevails. In other words, an overcomer. In other words, the character goes from a deceiver to an overcomer. We read this in Genesis chapter 32. What esoteric meanings can we derive from the story? Clearly, this bizarre episode has metaphors embedded within. All of us stand for Jacob, deceivers and usurpers. We have to reverse our natures. That is, we have to cross the river, Jaboc. As noted earlier, Jaboc means emptying out or pouring out. So we have to empty ourselves out. As our carnal nature battles, strives with our spiritual nature, just as Jacob wrestled with the angel, our hip has to be knocked out of joint. Our hip stands for our lower animal nature. It is at the hip region, or the sacral region, that the dissipation of our creative spiritual energies takes place. This process is the necessary step we must take before we reach pineal. After Jacob's hip is put out of joint, we read in Genesis 32:30, Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Now, what does that mean? The writers have encoded the scriptures with deep spiritual truths. Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search things out." Pineal stands for the pineal body, the tiny endocrine gland in the middle of our brain. Let us explain the process to the neophytes. God supplies His Spirit into the human body. This supply must not be discarded, dissipated through the hip region, but must be by a change of heart known as repentance or new birth in the Bible, channeled upwards to the heaved up place, heaven, head. Metaphorically, our hip should be put out of joint, and there, in the most holy place, which is in our brain, can we see God? For according to mystics, The pineal gland is what we read about in Genesis 32:30, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. The pine cone was used by the ancients to depict the pineal body. Perhaps that is why we see the pine cone symbols used in the Vatican. The ancient artists and saints hid these things in plain sight, yet only those who had eyes to see would see, because as Jesus said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Matthew 11:25.